Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you today about the school signs that you need to know to pass your road test. Now, just before we get started here, be sure to hit that subscribe button just about there. That way you'll get access to all of the great information as I get it available to you for those of you working towards passing a road test or starting a career as a truck or bus driver. And be sure to hit that bell as well. That way you'll get notifications when I get the videos up for you. As you can see in the sign here behind me, I'm standing in front of VSS, the Vernon Secondary School. It's our local high school, and school starts here next week, 5 September 2017. Today is the 1st of September, as you may also be able to see in the sign back there. Now, for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, school is starting next week. That's for those of us north of the equator. For those of you south of the equator, school doesn't start until March. The new school year, that is, rather. So there are 5 school signs that you need to know for the purposes of passing your road test, and unfortunately if you speed in a school zone, those designated as 30 kilometers an hour or 20 miles an hour, unfortunately that's an automatic fail on your road test. School signs are pentagon in shape. 4 of the 5 are pentagon in shape, which means they look like a house. There are 2 people on the sign, and the way I remember that is from that little mnemonic when you were learning English in grade school. When 2 vowels go walking, 1 does the talking. So that's how I remember the school signs, is that there's 2 people on them. The first school sign gives you advance notice that there is a school in the area, and if there are children present on the roadway, you're going to slow down and reduce your speed. The second one indicates a speed limit of 30 kilometers an hour between 8 and 5 during the day, during school days. So if there's a professional development day, you don't have to do the posted speed limit. The next one is the time and the speed. And then finally, if there are children present on the roadway, then you have to reduce speed. And finally, the last one is a regulatory sign. It's a white background with black symbols on it, and it designates a crosswalk. So those are the 5 school signs that you need to know for being successful on your road test. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about each one of those signs in a little more detail and give you a little bit more information so you can be successful on your road test. So stick around. I'll be right back with that information. Hi there, Smart Drivers. Welcome back. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you today about the 5 school signs that you're going to encounter for the purposes of your road test and how to pass your road test and be successful. This sign up here behind me is the first of the school signs, and this one simply warns you that there is a school in and around the area. Now, directly behind me beyond the intersection there is VSS, the Vernon Secondary High School. I'm at the back of the high school now, and this warns you that there's school in and around the area. So just take note of that as well. If there are children or students along the sidewalks and roadways and whatnot, that you will be able to slow down and not drive the posted speed limit. That is one of the reasons that you can reduce speed when you're on your road test, because you're using extra caution. When you go slower, you're able to observe better. So take note of this sign as well. These signs in different places in North America and whatnot are going to be different colors. The predecessor to the neon green was blue, and some of them in the United States are going to be yellow, but know that all of them are going to be the same shape, that pentagon shape, and this simply warns of a school in and around the area. So as well, be on alert for looking for the school's speed zone sign, because if you're around an elementary school, it's going to be reduced speed of 30 kilometers an hour or 20 miles an hour. And if you speed in a school zone, as I said in the introduction, unfortunately that's an automatic fail on a road test. So when you see this sign, know that you're in a school area, and if you see a school zone sign with the little square regulatory sign underneath it that indicates 30 kilometers an hour, 20 miles an hour, you need to reduce speed. The only difference between sign number 2 and sign number 3 is that sign number 2 doesn't have the time of day which you have to do the speed limit for the school speed zone. So just know that it's between 8 and 5, and it's almost identical to sign number 3, which we're going to talk about here in more detail. It designates a school speed zone, and it's usually in front of the school for a couple of blocks, and you'll need to look for the back of the other sign if it doesn't have an end school zone sign, which most of the school zones here in BC, they don't have a sign designating the end of the school zone. But know that it's 30 kilometers an hour, 20 miles an hour, and again, just to repeat, if you do speed in a school zone for the purposes of a road test, unfortunately you're not going to be successful on your road test. School sign number 3, which designates an actual speed zone, a school zone in which you have to do a specific speed limit as designated by the regulatory sign underneath the pentagon sign that designates a school area. The regulatory sign is rectangular in shape. It has a white background with black lettering on it or symbols, and that designates that you must do 30 kilometers an hour, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on school days. So if you know that it is in fact a professional development day, you don't have to do that posted speed limit. But on school days, Monday to Friday, any days that aren't professional development days, you have to do 30 kilometers an hour, 20 miles an hour for those of you in the States. And in British Columbia here, we don't put signs at the end of the speed zone which designate the end of the speed zone. So you have to look for the back of the other pentagon sign to know when you're at the end of the speed sign and can resume speed. And if you don't know what the posted speed limit is in the city, it's 50 kilometers an hour unless otherwise posted, and it's 80 kilometers an hour outside of the city unless otherwise posted. So that's 30 miles an hour for those of you in the States inside urban areas unless otherwise posted, and 50 miles an hour outside of urban areas unless otherwise posted. So know that. And as well, this is an automatic fail on a road test if you do not obey that speed limit during school days. So know which days are school and that you have to do 30 kilometers an hour, 20 miles an hour for the purposes of your road test to be successful. Sign number 4 I wasn't able to find, but you can see here in the image that 30 kilometers an hour when children present along the roadway. So if there are students walking along the roadway or highway or children, then you have to reduce speed to 30 kilometers an hour. But if there aren't any children, then you don't have to do 30 kilometers an hour. Now, interestingly enough, you can see here in the Google Maps image that there was a sign along Pottery Road up here near Hillview Elementary School. In the interim, since the time that Google took that picture, and now that I'm doing this video on school signs, they've taken that sign out, which suggests to me that it was somewhat confusing for drivers and that drivers weren't obeying the speed limit when children were present along the highway. So they simply took the sign out and put in a school zone sign. So now along Pottery Road in front of Hillview Elementary School here in Vernon, it's now an actual 30 kilometer an hour school zone. So that suggests that those signs when students present or children present on highway is somewhat confusing to drivers, and they've now simply just put in a school zone sign that is 30 kilometers an hour when school is in session. So know that as well. And I've seen road tests here on YouTube in California and other places that they have these signs where children are present, you have to do 30 kilometers an hour. If there aren't any children present, you just maintain the urban speed limit of 50 kilometers an hour, 30 miles an hour, and if you're outside in a rural area, it's going to be 80 kilometers an hour or 50 miles per hour. A bonus school sign, you can see the sign here behind me in the background, is diamond shape. And just a reminder, the 3 ways that traffic signs convey information is the shape, the colors, and the symbols and words that are written on the sign. This one behind me here, you can see it's a cautionary sign that reminds you that you are in fact in a school zone because it's the shape of a cautionary sign. It has the 2 people on it, and it is the neon green color which we use here in Canada to designate a school zone. So this one here reminds you that you are in fact in a school zone and cautions you to do this posted speed limit of 30 kilometers an hour or 20 miles an hour for those of you in the States. So you may or may not encounter these signs, but this one here is outside of Hillview Elementary School here in Vernon on Pottery Road, and just reminds drivers that they are in fact in a school zone because it's preceded by the school zone sign that designates 30 miles an hour or 20 miles an hour for those of you in the States. The last school sign is the school crosswalk sign. It's a regulatory sign. It's rectangular in shape. It has a white background, and the symbols and letters on it are black. And also there's road markings that accompany the school crosswalk sign. And there's 2 people on the sign, which indicates that it is in fact a school crossing. And as well, know for the purposes of a school crossing that you have to stop completely and wait until the pedestrians clear the roadway. Here in the province of British Columbia and other places, you need 1 lane of space between you and the pedestrians before you proceed. So here on this 2-lane road, you would need to wait for the pedestrians to completely attain the curb. I know in the province of Ontario and other jurisdictions, you have to wait for the pedestrians to completely cross the road, regardless of how many lanes of traffic it is. But here in the province of British Columbia, you only need 1 lane of space, 1 lane buffer of space before you can proceed. And I'll put a card up here in the corner for you on turning and pedestrians and how much space you need between your vehicle and turning with pedestrians and that buffer of space. So have a look at that as well to be successful on your road test, because if you don't give enough space between you and pedestrians before you proceed, unfortunately you're not going to be successful on your road test, or you're going to accumulate major demerits. So know that for the purposes of the road test, that this is a school crossing and that you must come to a stop when there's pedestrians in the crosswalk, regardless of whether they're students or whatnot. Quick review of school signs for those of you taking a road test next week, early September here in the Northern Hemisphere. Those of us that live north of the equator, you're going to have to be knowledgeable about school signs, otherwise you may not be successful on your road test. 4 of the 5 are pentagon in shape, which means that the sign is 5-sided and looks like a house with a gabled roof. There are 2 people on the sign, which designates it as a school sign, and the first one is just designates a school in the area. If there are children along the sidewalks and roadways and whatnot, you can reduce speed, and you will need to reduce speed for the purposes of your road test to demonstrate to the examiner that you are aware and taking note of the road signs and the conditions along the roadway. The second and third sign are more or less the same, which designate a speed zone of 30 kilometers an hour, 20 miles an hour. The second sign doesn't have the time of day on it, but it's the same as the third one, that between 8 and 5 when school is in session. So if there's a professional development day or school isn't in session during the week, then you don't have to obey the speed limit, but know that you need to do 30 kilometers an hour or 20 miles an hour in that speed zone. And here in British Columbia and some other places, they're not going to have an end speed zone sign, so you're going to have to look for the back of the other sign. The fourth sign designates a speed zone when there are children present along the roadway. If children aren't present or students aren't present along the roadway, then you simply maintain the speed that you would for driving in an urban area. 50 kilometers an hour unless otherwise posted, or 30 miles an hour for those of you in the States. If you're in a rural area, then it's going to be 80 kilometers an hour or 50 miles an hour unless otherwise posted. And as well, just on that note of rural areas, note that the school buses are going to be out again next week as well. And I'll put a card up here for you in the corner, somewhere up there, over there. And you can have a look at that school bus sign, the rules for the school buses as well, and that will give you information about how to deal with school buses, and know that you have to stop until the sign is retracted and the stoplights stop flashing on the school bus. So have a look at that video as well for next week to be prepared. The last school sign is a regulatory sign. It's rectangular in shape. It has a white background with black symbols on it and designates a crosswalk, and it will also be accompanied by road markings. And again, have a look at the video up in the corner there on how far you need to be away from pedestrians before you can proceed. I know in Ontario and other jurisdictions that you have to wait until they completely cross the road before you can proceed. And then we saw the bonus school sign as well, which warned you and reminded you that you in fact were in a school zone, and it was simply its shape. Everything else about it, the color and the symbols on it, were a school sign, but the diamond shape designated as a cautionary sign. So that was the bonus sign. Question for my smart drivers: are you taking your test in a city or in a rural area? And is there a school in and around the test center that you're going to have to be knowledgeable about school signs? Leave a comment down in the comment section there. All of that helps out the new drivers working towards their license. If you like what you see here, share, subscribe, leave a comment down in the comment section. As well, hit that thumbs up button. Check out all the videos here on the channel if you're working towards a license or starting a career as a truck or bus driver. Awesome information here. As well, head over to the Smart Drive Test website. Awesome online courses that you can purchase that will help you to pass your road test first time, guaranteed. And be sure when you're over there to get your checklist for road test day that gives you all of the items that you need to bring with you: license, glasses, those types of things, and as well the things that you need to do once you get to the test center, so you're going to be successful on passing your road test and nerves aren't going to get the better of you. I'm Rick with Smart Drive Test. Thanks very much for watching. Good luck in your road test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great day. Bye now. The itemized what? The way that traffic signs convey information is the shape, the colors on the sign, and